Hello and welcome to the Fishing Guide Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Wiegmann. We have traveled a long ways to get hold of Doug Wynn. He's such a busy man. He's out there guiding all the time, and when he's not guiding, he's secretly painting baits for PICO Lures. And so that was kind of the draw is to come in and visit with him and talk about fishing, talk about lures, talk about lure colors, and so. Doug, tell them a little bit about your guide service before we go too far.
Well, first of all, welcome to stormy West Kentucky. We're getting hammered today. Crappie, gills, and more is my guide service. I guide on Kentucky and Berkeley. I've been doing it. This is my 9th year. It's sort of a labor of love. Get to meet a lot of very interesting people and catch a lot of fish.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Fishing on Kentucky Lake has gotten better, hasn't it?
It has.
It's kind of in a cycle. Crappie fishing runs in cycles.
It does, just like bass fishing and everything else. You know, it's all contingent on the spawn. We lost 2 or 3 out of 5 year spawns, here a while back, and we went into a low point, but we're on the way back. One thing we sort of get a little raw about Kentucky and Berkeley Lake have had a real bad reputation about the Asian carp,
right?
And
they taste just like crappie.
Well, they do. We've ate them several times and enjoy it, but we recently had a big bass tournament here, and some of the guys took occasion to talk about how bad the carp were, and then they proceeded to catch a lot of fish, especially smallmouth. Yeah. So the lake, the bass fishing's coming back. The crappie fishing's phenomenal right now. One big thing, and we've talked about it before, is the bluegill and red ear. Right. They are coming back like gangbusters. We're getting some 3-pound red ear up here now.
Yeah,
that's South Carolina type red ear, know, and we're really, really happy. We've had big spawns with the shad, and that's what you got to do. Right now, our lakes are full of 8-9 inch crappie.
Wow!
I mean, a lot of days we may catch 30 9-inch crappie,
right?
And of course, they have to be 10,
right? So, they'll be 10-inch next year,
probably this fall. A lot of them will be. Something else, and a lot of your listeners probably may not know about them, but we've got a great sauger fishery going here now. We've already got one this year, 19.5 inches, and that's good sauger anywhere. And, we're seeing sauger show up. Of course, they love PICO crankbaits.
Yeah, so, I was going to ask you how you catch them, but there you go, crankbaits.
Yeah, if you're with me,
they probably like beach ball, right? Don't sauger like
they
that
like
beach ball color?
They like the D-Win. It's you get one and you get a PICO in front of them, they're going to eat it.
Yeah.
So
you're trolling. So basically, like this time of year, you're doing mostly you're trolling for.
Correct.
It's through this entire summer into the fall, huh?
Yeah, I've been doing it since the water was in the mid-50s.
Right.
A lot of my buddies in Mississippi think I'm crazy because we.
James Calloway doesn't. He does it all the time. Coldest part of the winter, man. He's still catching them.
Those guys at Enid and Grenada. Man, they're waiting until water's 78 degrees before they start pulling them. Man, I've been pulling them for 6 weeks up here.
Right. So can you catch those red ear on crankbaits?
I do occasionally. Yeah, especially in the fall when they move back out onto the secondary ledges. We catch a lot of them at 15 to 18 feet of water.
Oh.
So, and you catch one out there, it's going to be a good one. Usually, 2 pounds or so.
Let's talk about a typical day out on a guide trip. Tell us how you're rigging, how you're putting your poles out. If the person wants to go fishing with you.
Well, I've got the new XL Bay Pro 230 Elite, and I've got it set up to where I can fish up to 4 people.
Right.
if I have just one or two people, we're rigging off the back, and I have 6 of the individual Millennium rod holders set up. Up front, I have the spider locks, where if I've got 4 people, they'll typically be running 2 rods apiece. We'll be running the ACC crappie sticks, 16, 12s, and 8s, and trying to keep the line separation on the baits.
Right. And so are you pushing and pulling?
No
Pushing.
I don't do a lot. I don't do a lot of pushing. It's I know it's something that Les Smith and them love down there at Sardis and what used to be Arcaboula, but I don't do a lot of it up here. Now, one thing I do, I'm on pro staff with Offshore Tackle.
Right.
And occasionally I'll put a number 3 tadpole with a PICO square bill off the side.
Right.
And we pick up some stragglers, and usually that's a pretty good fish that'll take that on. So
yeah, tadpole actually happens to be a small weight system that Offshore has that slides forward, so it's like a dipsy diver, but it's weighted. Weight. Yeah, and so it pulls it down to a certain depth that it goes to, and so that means you don't have to let so much line out to get a certain depth, which is the advantage.
If I'm targeting fish at say 15 feet, and I'm using Precision Trolling Data app all the time.
Yep, off the phone.
And I may only have 20 feet of line out, to target those fish. Yep. Of course, I want that bait, above their head instead of below them. So
that's right. So planer boards, you're also using planer boards, are you not?
Oh, yeah.
With the people?
I use, especially later in the summer, when things sort of get a little stagnant and the crappie start getting boat shy. Now, if I'm going to, right now, if I'm going to Grenada, I'm going to be pulling boards. I love it. My clients, it's something that's really hard for somebody to pick up, first trip. But if I've got my buddies with me, they're all over those OR38s and the OR12 boards.
Right. And that's the different size boards. So
correct.
Some of them are heavier and longer in width. And
the OR12 has the tattle flag on it, but the flag, it makes much more visible, but a lot of times I don't even put the springs on them because the crappie aren't going to pull the flag down and keep it down anyway.
Right.
So, but I do like the OR12 boards because I can keep those in formation better than I can the OR38s.
And so using those for a saugeye too, planer boards.
The sauger. I'm not necessarily targeting the sauger, but the sauger are in the same area as the big crappie are. I mean, we've already caught 6 crappie this spring over 16 inches. So the sauger are right out there with them. And something else, I run some medium runners. I can't get Mitch to get me a medium runner in the PICO line.
Well, you just don't let out as much line. That's a medium diver.
Well, I'm trying to get the bait away from the boat, but a lot of times we're catching some good sauger on a medium runner. They're not necessarily hugging the bottom. That's sort of a misnomer that a lot of people think that bait's got to be in the mud, and it does not have to be to catch these sauger.
Up on Bull Shoals, they're catching walleye in the trees suspended at 60 feet.
Yeah.
60 foot deep.
Right.
You're in 120 feet of water.
Yeah. We don't see any of that here.
You don't have that much depth.
No. Kentucky Lake.
During the summer, are you fishing inside the creeks like Jonathan Creek? Or are you
But I fish out on
I didn't give away any of your spot, did I?
No.
GPS location? No. Oh, no.
I fish Blood River a lot. I fish all over the lake and Barkley too. But I'm targeting the mouths of the creeks and the ledges out on the main lake.
So current related?
Current makes it better lots of times.
Right.
Yeah.
You have any water this year? It rained twice since we've been here. So,
luckily, thankfully for the spawn, our lake came up to summer pool and it sat there. You know, where you lose the spawn is when the lake gets up real high. The fish run to the bushes, they spawn, and then TVA drops the bottom out of it. We've not seen that. Now, the rain we're having and the forecast, the lake will probably jump, but these fish have already spawned, so we shouldn't have an adverse effect there.
You have black crappie in here too, though?
We do. We do, but probably 90+% of my fish are white crappie because I'm targeting offshore stuff.
Right.
You know, I'm predominantly a deep water guy.
So they'd be up around the cribs and the boat docks, black crappie,
blowdowns, rocky banks, and stuff. But now we do catch some good black crappie. You know, we've got some channels that swing in tight to some of the rocky bluffs and stuff,
right.
And we'll catch some black crappie there.
Yeah. Well, that's all good. So, tell us how what you probably don't know is Doug's actually come up with a couple colors that PICO Lures is the crankbaits are in, and so Mitch even hinted that he might make the squarebill might make it in beach ball if it comes to be, and I was like, well
if
he did that, you would only need one lure. So it's pretty tough to beat a beach ball, but you did a beach ball, and
there are some beach ball square bills in my boat.
Yeah,
I didn't get them from Mitch.
No, and he hasn't been painting them himself, but
right,
not recently,
right.
Anyway. So
right.
the product's been coming in, so that's good.
But
how'd beach ball come around to start with? That's kind of an odd color.
You know, it's funny story about beach ball. It was developed on Blood River, and it was just a pattern I came up with. A friend of mine named Tim Doherty and I were down there, and we were killing them on it. And he said, "What's this bait called?" I said, "I don't have any idea." And he said, "Well, it looks like a beach ball." And I said, "There you go." So it's been beach ball ever since. So
yeah, pretty dominant black though for Kentucky Lake, right?
I tell you what. I go against the grain on my bait colors. Now I still run some shad colors and stuff, but I run a lot of dark colors. Some of the fish we've been catching, we've actually been catching on black. So, and I was going to say we've got a new color coming out this fall. It's called muscadine. And it's been a really good color for me for a couple of years up here, and I finally got Mitch talked into it.
Yeah, well, that's no one knows about that. But D Wynn was one that's actually named after you.
Yep.
Letter D Wynn WYNN. That's actually named after you, and so
you turn the package around, it says Wynn D.
Yeah, there you go.
So I got to tell you about that. Mitch and I were fishing
Grenada, wasn't it?
We were at Grenada a few years ago at one of the crappie.com events, the Crankfest. And Mitch is fishing with me. And I purposely handed him a rod with that green bait on there. He said, "I don't want to use this. It's not one of my colors." And I said, "Just hush and fish." And he started catching fish on it big time, and he said, "Don't take my picture with this bait because it's not in the catalog yet." And I said, "Well, it should be." So it took him a while to get it, but it's been a great color for me everywhere I've ever used it. So
and so there's actually 42 different color patterns currently being produced by PICO, and so another one is called Paycheck. Paycheck actually was color developed by my son-in-law, Joey M. And he did that because the jerkbait, that color's so good with the jerkbait that I was like, if you put this in a crankbait, this will be, because of the Ozarks and that color pattern, I say it'll be one of those that'll be one of the best sellers that you got, just because it's a popular color.
Right.
It's like edgy bone without a bone. And so that's the make of that. And so, you know, everyone's doing everything.
Right.
Like you're catching everything on it, so which makes a difference. But when you go to paint one, is there as you're coming up with these these colors, are there things that you're looking at, like what the crappie are biting on, or?
No, I tell you, if you could see some of the baits that these fish see, that'll never go into production. I like to put something in the water the fish haven't seen, and that's where I come up with a lot of these patterns. And and of course, like the beach ball, like the D-Win, those are patterns I've been using for several years, and I've caught fish everywhere with them. But I've got some patterns that I fish several times a week that will never see production, but they're still on PICO blanks, which are not available. So, but
that's right. Well, there's plenty of them. I mean, I don't think you'll have any trouble catching a fish.
No, I like to play around with the colors and stuff. Yeah. But
well, I would say that actually the beach ball, the fish hawk, was the one that I'd caught the most fish on. Of course, it was the original color of the 6.
Right.
And that one had caught the most.
Right.
But now, literally, my one that I've caught the most fish on is beach ball. It has walleye teeth marks on. It's faded. It's almost like two different. When I bring a new one out and I look at the old one, I'm like, this old one looks like the lips probably a little not as long as it used to be from being, and that's just from catching fish. Right. Everything, walleye and white bass, black bass, smallmouth, everything that swims on Beaver Lake that's a game fish. I've caught them on that.
Oh yeah, it's a great pattern everywhere. You mentioned that some of us went up to Lake Erie a few years ago. We'd never walleye fished, and we're going out, and the captain is saying, "You guys pick out what baits you want to use." And a buddy of ours who lived in Pennsylvania, we asked him, and he said, "Pick out the one with the teeth marks on them." So it's sort of a good way to know that it's been working. So
that's right. So that takes us up to Tackle Time. Tackle Time sponsored by PICO Lures. Of course, we've been talking about PICO Lures. I know what there's to say. There's 42 different colors of the deep diving INT deep divers, or there's 14 colors of the square bill, I believe. And you can get them online, or you can get them at different tackle stores everywhere. Northwest Arkansas has them. In Kentucky, if they're at Kentucky Lake, where would they go shop?
Kentucky Lake Outdoors has them. Fast Eddie's has them. Benson's has them up at Murray. And do
you count
Ellis Crappie?
I was going to ask you if you count Ellis Crappie, because he's in Paducah. If you counted him in this little glob of Kentucky Lake people,
he's a great guy. I run into him at a lot of the shows, and I was excited to see him. And when beach ball first came out, he wasn't stocking it, and I said, "Man, you got to get some of these." And see, he's stocking it now along with a lot of the other colors. So
that's a good choice for him.
Oh yeah,
that's a good
exactly.
Sale. But anyway, that's how it goes. That's how we're going to end the show. We always like to say, make sure you keep your hook sharp and your lures in the water.